Hey, what's up guys? Jerome here from the Bonsai Supply, and welcome to today's video. We have a very special tree here with us today. So this tree is a small leaf Trident Maple that was originally imported from Japan. Now I've had this tree in my collection for a number of years, and I've been working on building the entire structure of the tree and just trying to improve it a little bit more year after year. And now it is time to go ahead and repot this tree. I want to change the pot. I'm not a big fan of the pot itself, even though the size I think is perfectly fine. I'm just not a big fan of the color of the pot. And also I want to improve the root spread of the tree. And it's best done with deciduous trees. To improve the root spread is to plant a tree into a shallow or pot. So now there's a few things that we need to discuss, why it is time to do this now, what type of soil we use, and we also need to discuss the pot that I chose for this tree. So let's get started. So it is time to repot this tree now because as you can see here, it is starting to wake up. And I have other Trident Maples that are not waking up just yet. And so therefore you can't go by the calendar or wait until spring is in full swings. You have to check your trees starting mid-February. You have to start to check every single tree, or actually doesn't really matter if it's mid-February or not, but the temperatures here in Georgia are fluctuating currently so much where I have to start to watch my trees. Like on some days it goes down to 20, but other days it is around 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Like today it is super warm, so naturally some trees start to wake up. And so therefore you have to check all of your trees on a daily basis to make sure that you do not miss the repotting window. Now this Trident Maple is starting to wake up. You can see it right here. The leaves are starting to push already, and over here the leaves are almost fully out. And so therefore I know it is now a perfect time to go ahead and repot this tree. So now let's talk about the type of soil that we use for a smaller tree such as this one. Now this tree is right around 8 inches in height. Maybe it's just a little bit taller than that, maybe 8 to 9 inches. I still call it a Shohin. Depends on who you talk to. But nonetheless, the type of soil that I use for a smaller tree like that will be our Shohin soil mixture. And it is just like the regular soil mixture. The ingredients are exactly the same. The only difference is the particle size. So for a smaller tree like this one, I like to go ahead and use our Shohin mixture. So now that we have talked about the timing of repotting a tree, right? We wait for the buds to just open before the leaf is fully open. Right before that, you want to go ahead and repot it. We also talked about the size of soil that we use. And now we also have to talk about the type of pot that I chose for this tree. So I said at the very beginning that I wanted to improve the root spread. And in order to do that, we have to repot this tree into a much shallower pot. Because if the roots do not have anywhere else to go except for horizontally, they start to fuse together much faster, and you start to create that nice waxy, pancake-ish root spread, which is what we want. Now on this tree, I want to improve that. I want to have that spread go even further than it does right now. And so therefore, I chose a pot that is much shallower than the current one, and is also a little bit larger as well. I love to have my deciduous trees in larger oval shallow pots. And I think that when you go shallow, it is fine if the pot is a little bit on the larger side versus if you go into like a deeper pot, then I prefer to have the pot a little bit more snug. Now, the reason why I chose this pot is because of its glaze, aside of course from the shallowness. I really love the glaze of this pot. It is very subtle, and it has like this burnt caramel, copper, bronze type of feel to it. And this will look really, really nice with the fall color. So I'm kind of working in contrast with the tree. Now this Trident Maple has a very light shimmer of like a dark orange on the very tip of the, on the very outside, on the edges of the leaf. So that would work really well with this pot throughout the year. But then in the fall, this tree turns like a very dark yellow, almost orange, and some parts even like a darker red. So it has a very beautiful fall color. So I thought that yellowish dark oranges with that copper color will go really nicely together. And so I worked with a contrasting. Now you can also work with your glazes to match the colors, like in last week's video or the week before maybe, where I repotted the Paracantha. I said that I was matching the flower colors, which were white, with a white pot, but then the berries of the Paracantha are either orange or red, and so I'm contrasting there with the white. So it's a really nice, fun way to match your pots to your trees. So now without further ado, let's go ahead and set up this pot. I'm going to have to use drainage screen to cover these holes, and then I'm going to use about a 2-inch aluminum wire that I'm going to feed here through the tie down holes so that we can tie the tree into position. So we're going to do that first, and then we're going to take this tree out of its current pot and work down the roots to make it fit perfectly into this pot. So let's get to work. Alright, so what I like to do now that I have worked down the root ball a little bit, have cut off some of these long roots, I like to focus now my energy on this section here. So I only need to have fibrous roots out here on the perimeter. I do not need to have roots down here in order for the tree to be healthy. And so the more roots that I can remove from down here, I can get it flatter into the pot, which will then ensure me a flatter and wider and nicer root spread. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to go ahead now and just cut out all of these roots down here. All right, so now I didn't have to take out too much. Now you can see here in the center it is completely flat, and that's exactly what we want. Because now when we pot it into the new pot, it's going to be, the roots have nowhere else to go except for going horizontally. So they have to grow along of the bottom of the pot, and therefore it will start to continue to give me a nicer spread in the future. So now what we're going to do here is take our bonsai pot that we set up, take a small amount of soil, and just pour it in the center. And so I always like to pour a small mound in the center of the pot like that, and then look at my tree from the front as well as my pot. Now every pot has a front and a back, just like every tree. Yeah, I think I like this better. Okay, so this section here that's flat, I want to make sure that I put this right on top of the mound here like that, and then wiggle it down into position. And what that does is, as I have the mountain and I push the tree down and I start to wiggle it back and forth, all the soil starts to go in between the roots and ensures that I don't have any air pockets. So I move it back and forth like that. And now at this point, once I have it wiggled down, I want to go ahead and position the tree into the pot exactly where I want it. So get on eye level. Yeah, so to me this looks really good right now, the way that the tree is positioned. It is in the center this way, which is what you want, and then have it slightly off center this way. So have it slightly more over to this side, if that's correct. It's actually more slightly over to this side. So it's more slightly over to this side. So have it in the center this way, but have it just slightly off center this way, and your tree will look a lot better positioned in your pot. So I like the way that the tree is sitting, and what I'm going to do here now is actually start to tie the tree down and then fill it in with some more good bonsai soil. So let's go ahead and get to work. Alright, so there you have it. The tree is now finished potted into its new container. It is sitting a lot lower in the pot, which is really nice. Now this will not improve the root system and the root flare overnight. I still have many more years to go until the root spread has spread out a little bit more. But I'm not going to repot this tree now for probably 2 years, just so that I get more thicker roots down here, and then I can fan them out much better and set the tree even a little bit lower. But doing that over time will help me to improve my root flare over time, like I said. Now the pot may be slightly a little bit too large for some, but for me I think it perfectly works. This is a squattier tree. It is lower, it is squattier, so therefore I think it works quite well. Now a few things to note here. So now that I've potted this tree, I'm going to go ahead and water this tree really well, and then I'm going to keep it in here in my unheated greenhouse with my pyracantha that I recently repotted. And I want to make sure that this tree now does not dip below 40 anymore, because I want to have this growth now start to open up and push. And so therefore I can get so much more growth out of this tree. Number one, because I'm repotting it at the right time, but also since I'm keeping it in this greenhouse that has a heater that comes on when the temperatures drop right at 40, the heater comes on and brings the temperature up to about 45 and maintains it right there between 40 and 45, which is perfect. You do not want to have a tree that was repotted to go through these temperature fluctuations anymore, where it goes down to freezing. If it's warmer, that's fine. You just want to make sure that it doesn't drop below freezing anymore. That's really important. So I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. If you have any questions, please let me know down below in the comment section, and let me know what you think of this tree, and I will catch you guys next time.